Aliens are real.
This is from 2017. Someone had found just a hand.
Whoa.
It's obviously the same
Bizarre
hand.
three-fingered hand in 2017.
Yeah.
Mummified hand found in a tunnel in Peru.
It said these fingers had 6 bones in each finger.
Whoa.
Regular human bone has 3.
Whoa. Dude.
Mummified hand is made up of bone and skin, suggesting that it's not fake, unless it was somehow made using real bones, flesh, and skin. But how would you fake?
How would you do that a long time ago and then mummify it? Yeah. It's all so strange. And that part of the world, they've had stories about these kind of creatures forever. That's why they have all this artwork about them. Not only that, that is an exact replica. Like if you ever see the movie Moment of Contact, the James Fox movie, it's about an incident in Brazil in 1994, 96. The Varginha, Brazil incident, where there was a crashed UFO. These police officers went to go and see this crash. There was some sort of electrical storm. And then they found this creature that seemed to have been injured from the craft. The guy picks it up, takes it in his car. They bring it to a hospital. The hospital refuses to treat it. They bring it to another hospital. That hospital, they don't know what happened with the records or what happened, but they do know that the guy who carried it physically died of a horrible bacterial infection that they could not cure. They said it smelled like sulfur and it had 3 fingers and 3 toes. It looked like that thing. It had a long head. And this, whatever this creature was that is, mummified, it looks exactly like what these people were talking about from this UFO crash in Varginha, Brazil. Like it's the entire folklore of the town. They have a UFO when you enter into the town of Varginha. They have like this giant statue of a UFO.
Really?
Like there's still people alive to this day that live in that town that will tell you the story. And you can go across town, you can go here. They all have the same story. There's multiple UFOs in the sky. One of them crashed. They found 2 creatures. One of them was alive. They think one of them was dead. Whatever this crash site was, they bring in the movie Moment of Contact. They bring this police officer to the site and he starts weeping. Like if he's a liar, he's the greatest actor of all time. The guy starts freaking out when he starts telling the story of what he found in the 1990s. It like brings him back to that moment. The women who saw the being, they're like in their 40s now. They were little girls when they saw it. And they all have the same story.
And it matches
3-fingered, 3-toed, looked like that. Looked exactly like that.
Man, if I wasn't doing the ancient history thing, I'd love to talk about this stuff as well.
It might be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know. I'd love to maybe make some, connection. But the thing is, I just don't want to give anyone more ammunition to come after me and shit. Like they'll call me a pseudo.
They're coming after you, buddy.
They're probably coming after me after today. Yeah,
they're going to after all the nonsense that we've talked.
Probably.
But it's fun to talk nonsense, and this is definitely fun nonsense. But that body's not nonsense. The Varginha thing, I don't think is nonsense either.
Well, it's weird
it's
that
a really
they match
weird one.
the kind of stories
Exactly.
from however long ago match to the mummified bodies. That's weird.
Not just that, but biblical stories about creatures that are demons that smell like sulfur.
Yeah.
Right? If you're terrified of something and you think you've decided that it's a demon because it's actually an advanced life form from somewhere else and it smells like sulfur, like whatever they have that got on this guy's skin that gave him this horrible bacterial infection, it's all documented. The guy died. He was a young, healthy soldier, and he's dead within like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's not a coincidence.
They're giving him antibiotics. This is the 90s. This is not like the 1800s.
Yeah.
They're treating him with modern medicine, and he's fucked, and he dies.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and this is the guy that was carrying the alien? Are you fucking kidding me?
Mate, I need to look into this
And it
more.
smells like sulfur, and it looks exactly like a thing that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Where they have a real mummy of these things.
Yeah. And
See if you could just get an image, an artist depiction. So they had these kids describe what they saw. And they drew this 3-fingered, 3-toed little, it was like almost like a purple-looking thing.
do you think that's linked in any way to all this kind of mysterious stone construction we find in South America that no one can really explain? And here we go.
What is the image? The thing that was curled up in the ground. There's like a image. Yeah, that one. That one with the red eyes. No, yeah, that one. That's what it looked like. Somebody actually made a sculpture of that, exactly what it looked like, and gave it to us. We have it at the mothership.
But the thing is, if it was an alien, why would it look so human, if that makes sense? Unless it came from this planet, I suppose.
Right. But does it look human?
Well,
Or
in
maybe
terms
that's
of,
just
like,
maybe that's a constant thing when you evolve from primates. And maybe there's a thing about the alien gray too that's always been like this archetype of what we eventually will become.
Well,
Go
kind
back-
of like the big, like skinny limbs.
Yeah,
big
so
head,
this is how those guys described it. This is how they described what it looked like. Man, that looks an awful lot like that creature.
Uh-huh.
The big eyes, the whole deal, the weird spindly body. That drawing right there where it's hunched over, the one to the right of your cursor, yeah, that's the one that's my favorite. Because it's like, what is it? 1996? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell that is. But what if it's real? And what if those things in Peru are exactly that thing? And what if, this thing has visited human beings multiple times in history?
So would you say it's from another planet? And
Who knows? It might be
Yeah.
from here. That's
that's what I think. Because if it's got the kind of similar kind of like primate form, then,
it might look, if these things they're finding these mummified remains in Peru, clearly it was here. Why would we assume it's not from here?
yeah.
Like maybe we just have a really inaccurate timeline of life on this planet, and maybe some things went undersea, which sounds nuts. But then there's all these fucking videos of things coming out of the water.
That's where I would hide if I was trying to hide, or even,
Yeah. I mean, if you've mastered gravity to the point where you create like a bubble around everything you are and you travel through it without any resistance whatsoever, and they've clocked things going underwater that are going like 500 knots underwater. They have no idea how it does that.
Yeah, well, it's all kind of it's like this. I mean, you probably know more about this than me, but my only exposure to the kind of UAP thing was traditionally through. I'm a big fan of Blink 182, and there's Tom DeLonge.
I've had Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, you've had him on.
Yeah.
You've had Travis on as well. You
Yeah,
need to get
Travis is the
Mark
shit.
on. He's the third.
Yeah.
He's complete the set.
I love
But,
Travis.
I've always. I'm in a band. I was.
Not that I don't love Tom either. I just thought he
Tom's
was crazy.
awesome.
I thought he was crazy when I had him on before, and now I'm like, damn, I think he might be onto something.
Well, he's so cool. He's
But
always
also-
been like an inspiration for me. Like I make music, and he's been a big inspiration for me. But he always got me into. He kind of got me into the UAP thing for a
He's
while
all
ago.
in.
Yeah.
He's all in. But I do have to say that if I was the government and I wanted to like spread a bunch of crazy stories about UFOs, I'd tell them to people like Tom.
I guess so. Yeah.
And I'd tell them to people like me. I mean, I think people do that on this podcast. I think some of the information that gets shared on this podcast is probably bullshit.
To kind
And
of
they-
like,
to hide
muddy the
things.
waters. Yeah.
And to prime people for disclosure.
Yeah.
I think if I was in charge and if I had done the Hal Puthoff thing, what Hal Puthoff was assigned to do? Where he was,
Yes.
so they gave him a numerical value for all these different things that would be positively influenced by disclosure and negatively influenced. And you assign a value 1 through 10 to like what's going to happen in religion, what's going to happen in politics, what's banking, all that stuff. And this was during the Bush administration. So Bush essentially said to Hal Puthoff, the Bush administration said, we have been working on a crash retrieval program. We have vehicles that are not from this world. We are not alone. If we release this information to the general public and disclose it, what will be the negative impact? What will be the positive impact? And is it overall positive or is it overall negative? And everyone, there was a bunch of different independent people that they assigned this task to. Everyone came up with much more on the negative than on the positive. So they decided to not disclose it. This is Hal Puthoff's story. I can't tell you if it's true or not.
Yeah. But why
it
did they think it
seems-
was negative? Just because of like the shock.
The impact.
And,
the shock. The complete lack of any real faith in authority figures. Like, why would you listen to the president of the United States when there's fucking UFOs reading your mind and traveling instantaneously here from wherever they're from?
Yeah.
Like, all of our systems of power and control, they all go away because we don't. You're not in control anymore. Clearly, the aliens are in control. People would worship the aliens.
But do you think they're kind of like drip feeding us, and then at some point
Yes.
it would come out? But then isn't that going to happen anyway?
I don't think it's totally organized because I think most things in the government are not totally organized.
I guess
think there's a lot of chaos going on at all levels of the government. I really believe that. And to think that in this top secret UFO crash retrieval world, there's not a lot of chaos.
Just
when
humans.
There's chaos
isn't
in
it?
everything. There's chaos in the FBI. They're having problems. The CIA has its own problems. Every organization has great people and a bunch of clowns and a bunch of nutty people that don't want to lose their positions of power and these little struggles, inter-office bullshit in every organization with human beings. So for sure, that's the same thing with UFO disclosure.
Yeah.
And then I think there's also the problem with if there really is a crash retrieval program and it's been going on for a long time and it's been going on without congressional oversight, that means you've been lying and you've been misappropriating money and
You go to jail.
and everybody's fucked.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to, like, you got to slowly trickle out the information and you got to mix it up with a whole lot of bullshit. Whole lot of nonsense and then fly some drones over people and see how they respond.
I
And,
remember that thing. There's something recently about that, wasn't
yeah,
there?
the New Jersey thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's giant drones over New Jersey, and then they try to find them with fighter jets. The lights would shut off and they'd
Was that
take off.
What was the? What? How did they?
Who fucking knows?
They just brush over that.
Yeah, they say, oh, it's ours. Like, they didn't even tell us exactly what was going on, but it was almost like a national emergency. It was a national story. It was. I remember Trump saying that he was not going to go play golf in New Jersey because they were flying in New Jersey.
Was this pre-election? Was this before he became president?
I think
Was it Biden?
it was during. Was it during? Yes. I think it was
December, January-ish.
I think it was December.
Late 2024.
I don't think he was the president yet.
No, he became president in January.
Right. But was it post-election? It was post-election, right?
I just can't remember. Is Mike Benz saying that this has happened a couple of years in a row, and they were waiting for it to happen this year. It did, and then he also predicted it would just disappear a few weeks later, and it did.
Yeah. Like, what was that? Maybe it's just a grand show that they put on for us to distract us from some other stuff. Maybe there's some banking fucking decisions that were going on at that time that we would have probably paid attention to.
Yeah, but like, look at the drones.
Yeah,
Or
no,
whatever.
that's a real thing.
Yeah, of course.
I would do that if I had some drones.
Or
I'd be like,
maybe-
if I was trying to pull off some shenanigans.
Couldn't it just be,
There are these very small mummified looking things that are in Peru that seem to look exactly like a similar kind of thing to a human being, but varies enough that you know it's not us. And it has more ribs, it has more spinal columns, or more discs. This is what they look like. And there's X-rays of them, and that's where it gets really weird. And they're tridactyl, right? So they have 3 fingers and 3 toes.
Yep. And so these were discovered in 2015 in a cave by a guy named Leandro who goes by Mario. And this is one of the headaches about the case is like we don't have good provenance on it. So he is this Huaquero gravedigger guy, and they were found in diatomaceous earth. So there's actually an idea that they might not even be mummies. Diatomaceous earth is a desiccant, and so they were dried out. And a lot of the organs are actually still inside the bodies. And there are 3 different types. There are S types, which are these little winged creatures. There are J types. The J types are they were most popularized in this Mexican Congress where these things were outed in September of 2023, where they look like almost Close Encounters. Jamie, if you scroll down, like you see that Peru's Congress, like right there. Like that thing looks like this like jokey, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Like
Yeah,
it looks like
totally fake.
It looks totally fake, right? So those are the J types. They're like 25-ish, maybe 25 to 30
But
of
then
those.
there's the ones that they've X-rayed, and that's where it gets really weird.
The weirdest ones that I was talking about, the forensics people kind of evaluating, are these M types. These are like 4 to 5 feet. They look pretty anatomically consistent.
Have you seen them in person?
I have.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was your feeling?
My feeling was, it was this,
Keep those images up, please.
it was as with a lot of these things, oscillating between, holy shit, this thing is not from here, and then, dude, you have to like chill, and like there's so many other things, there's so many other gates this has to get through for us to actually, verify this stuff.
See if you can go the X-rays, Jamie. Find the images from the X-rays. That's one, but there's one that's a little bit better because it's one of the fetal position. It's
Jamie, in my document,
Yeah,
actually.
look at that one.
Okay, there you go. So that one has eggs inside of it.
What?
If you go,
What?
yeah, Montserrat, which
Look at
is
its hips.
yeah.
How weird.
So if you go to Montserrat clip, yeah. So this one's pregnant and has what they are claiming to be a tridactyl fetus inside of it. Yeah.
How many of these do they have?
So they have 8 to 10 of these M types, these kind of most realistic looking ones.
8 to 10?
8 to 10. And then they have 25 to 30 of the J types. So yeah, look at that. That's a 3D reconstruction of the CAT scan.
So they have teeth. That's weird.
They have teeth,
right?
Yeah. They have tendons, they have bones, they have cartilage, they have organs inside. And then, so this is where we need to verify stuff. They even have actually.
Could you go back to the part of the video where what's that? Yeah, that part. What the fuck is that, man? That's crazy.
They have osmium and cadmium implants in them, which are rare earth metals that were discovered in the 19th century, too.
If this is art, if someone made this, I need to buy one.
yeah.
Like, you need to tell me how much this costs. I need to put it on my table because you're a genius. If you've made that and you tricked everybody into thinking that that's real, you're a goddamn genius and you shouldn't just be hoaxing people.
Well,
so then the alternative is that's real.
Well,
if that's real, that's completely insane.
Joe, fortunately and fortunately for you maybe, but unfortunately for the case, these huaqueros, these gravediggers, are selling some of these things on the black market. And this case is the wild, wild west. It is so...
How much? How much could I get one for?
I've heard 7 figures.
7 figures?
I've heard a lot of money.
Jeez Louise.
But
is Peter Thiel buying one of these? Don't say yes. Look at that thing.
It's wild.
That's so crazy.
But there are serious problems. I want to caveat all of this, and I don't want to be overly sensationalist about this. If it's a hoax, it's the best hoax ever.
Right.
It is the best. My friend Michael Mazzola, who kind of rolled the red carpet down, allowed me to even see these things. He's making a video, or making a documentary on this that's coming out this August, and it's called "This Is Not a Hoax." I told him to put in parentheses, or this is the most sophisticated hoax ever.
Right.
Because the DNA testing sucks. There's no signal. The signal to noise ratio sucks on the DNA.
How come?
Because there was probably human contamination. Like the NCBI, which is this biotech repository where you have a lot of this genetic information on 2 of the bodies, Victoria and Maria. This is all publicly available. They've done analysis on this, and the camp that is very pro, these being alien, is this guy Jaime Maussan, and he is. I actually think he's awesome. I love him. He's this former 60 Minutes guy in Mexico, and he's paid a lot of money to protect a lot of these bodies. He's very open about we just need more scientific research. He wants more eyes on this thing, but some of the genetics. Some of the genetics researchers that they're basing the stuff on, I spoke to one of them. This guy's name is Dr. Ricardo Rangel, and he's a biologist. I don't think he's actually a geneticist. And his belief is he was this is, there's 30% of this is unknown DNA that we don't know. And then in the 70%, you have mitochondrial DNA from Myanmar. And then you have DNA from a parasite in Africa. And you also have bonobos and chimpanzee DNA, which means it was an ancient primate that held this DNA because it was before they phylogenetically split off. So what he's saying, and this is crazy, is he was saying that a hominid species, an early hominid species, went from Asia to Africa. And because there's some theories that they actually, East Africa is not the first hominid species. Maybe it was East Asia. So it's already kind of requiring some leaps of logic or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then had sex with this primate thing, and you end up with this hybrid. And then another leap of logic is that before Pizarro and all the conquistadors, there's actually transmission of, beings from Africa to South America. I don't believe that. It's crazy. It's like saying the pangolin theory is better than the Wuhan lab leak theory, which is just like Occam's razor. That's not real.
Well, we do know that there were other types of hominids that coexisted with human beings.
Denisovans.
Yeah. The Floras people, the Hobbit people. what is the carbon dating on these things?
Carbon dating ranges from 700 years ago, which would actually be Incan. That would be because Incan started in like 1450, and then all the way down to 1800 years ago, which is the Nazca people.
My whole theory is this was a pocket. It's called the Norte Chico culture. It's a little pocket of these 4 valleys, and I went all over them documenting these pyramids. They don't look like pyramids anymore. They look like mounds. They're so old. But there's another place 200 kilometers north in the Chasma Valley. And what they have found is underneath the structures that are currently exposed, they found deeper layers of temples with that sunken plaza in this whole other location. And those are dating to the same time. So I firmly believe that what archaeologists currently say is the oldest culture, I believe it went the whole coast of Peru.
Wow.
I mean, like, this was a cradle of civilization. I mean, hands down.
Cradle of civilization 6,000 years ago.
6,000 years ago.
So, which is right around the time we think the cradle of civilization happened in Sumer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the hard thing about it is, like, you'll have some carvings in adobe that's been preserved in some of these places. So there's some sort of iconography, but there's no writing like the Sumerian. The whole thing about Peru is, like, there was no writing system that we know of. There is a theory, and I believe this. I believe the quipus, the rope strings with knots.
Yeah.
I believe that was a language, but the Spanish burnt as soon as the Spanish came over, they burned as many of those things as they could find, and they killed the people who could read them. So we won't ever know.
Oh God, Spaniards! How dare you?
But there's evidence that they took some of the Incas to the Spanish court, and so there's an Inca in the Spanish court in front of the queen or king reading off of these quipus, reading stories, telling the court, and
From knots on strings.
from knots on strings. Yeah.
And that understanding of that stuff is lost.
It's lost. Currently, I think for the last few years, there's been some studies being done in Harvard trying to use AI to figure out what these mean. I mean, and
How
it's
many
not
of these
just,
are left over? Can we see some images of them?
I think 500 to 1,000. I mean, that's it. I mean, the Spanish went on a mission to burn all these things.
Because they were trying to convert them to Spanish and get them to speak the language and
Yeah,
become Catholic.
pretty much.
Yeah, yeah,
and so much history is lost because of it.
yeah.
So it's but what's interesting is at that oldest place at Corral, they found a quipu. They found one of these knotted strings, and it wasn't a fishing net. It was what looked to be a quipu. And so if you have that tradition going back 6,000 years, I mean, that's there's a lot of
This picture's from 1994. This is what it looked like then. It just doesn't look like anything.
see that on the right, those pits.
Yeah,
That's looting pits.
And wow.
that's what it looks like from above here. I was looking at a map.
Oh, so they had to dig it up.
This is the map from above.
Wow.
Google Maps. It's a pretty big area.
Why is ancient history so damn fascinating?
If you go on my spreadsheet, there's a place called Era de, what is it? I'm looking at my notes here. Sunken Plaza Era de Pando. It's a link to my YouTube. So this, what we're about to see is right across the valley from Corral. So all throughout that valley are these sites from that Norte Chico culture. And I'm like right there on top of this pyramid, and just the drone footage is epic, man.
Wow.
So I went on a mission looking for these places. That's it.
The thing about this that is so compelling but also so unsatisfying is that a lot of these stories, you're never going to get the full answer.
No.
You're never going to get the full history. It's just the mystery will never be satisfied. You're always going to be hungry, you know? Which is that for a person like yourself that studies these places and has dedicated so much time to it, is that in any way frustrating, or does it add to the appeal?
Both.
Well, look at that 6,000-year-old
Quick
site.
question. There's no one there with you at all. It looks like
No.
so no one can stop you from
Taking
No,
a skull.
digging. Or...
Whoa, look at that.
No,
So
I
this
mean,
is
if you got
with
caught,
a drone?
yeah, this is just me. I actually spoke to there was an archaeologist who told me to go to that place, and so I went, and I was the only one there.
Wow.
So this is my whole thing was I identified most of these places through Google Earth first. Like they're not labeled. These places aren't labeled at all.
That's crazy. So these aren't documented
No,
places.
this is. So
This one place right here is?
It's not on Google Earth, though. It's not on Google Maps. You won't see any marker of it. But I was able to do some digging because of the guy who took me through the site. I meet this random guy, Luis. Luis is amazing. He's a farmer right here. I freaked him out. He thought I was coming to rob him because he gets robbed often, apparently.
Oh, boy.
But he
Poor
walked me
Luis.
through the site, and this one, okay, if you pause it, that right there on the bottom right is another one of those temples with the sunken plaza, except that one has monoliths.
Oh, it looks like Stonehenge.
Exactly. And nobody's done a study on astro. I don't know that stuff.
Alignment, right.
But I can almost guarantee that there is some sort of astronomical alignment. So what happened was archaeologists did come here in the 90s, I think, and it didn't look like corral. They weren't going to be able to restore it, so they just kept it as to find dating on these things. And it's from the same culture. It's just a couple valleys over.
Do you have any footage of the monoliths?
Yeah. It'll come up if you fast forward through it. It's going to be back closer to where, yeah. We walk up to it. There you go.
Interesting. So some sort of a stone circle of monoliths.
I put it through AI.
They're
and
fairly
it-
small monoliths, though, right?
I mean, some of them have been buried and removed. But
Oh. So someone's got them in their fucking house somewhere.
some of them, yeah.
Ugh. How much of that is a problem with archaeology? I know that was a giant issue with Egyptian artifacts.
The-
That a lot of like wealthy people in other countries would just get it imported to their den and have a big fancy party.
It still happens. I will have to say that and I mean I've seen it with my own eyes. Looting is. I've never come across like somebody in the field doing
That
that.
would be
though.
fucking terrifying, right?
Would be freaky. Yeah.
Because they'll kill you.
Dude, you're out in the middle of nowhere.
And if they get caught, they're in deep shit, so they would want to get rid of you. What's the most compelling site in Peru for you?
I wanted to show you this. If you look in my video footage, Purulen Pyramids, Purulen. This site, I think it is much more deserving of future study. It's a site that has 16 platform pyramids.
Wow. And what does this site date to?
So when I did this, half my role here is like I'll go out and find these places, and then on the back end when I make these videos, I go hard on the research. Like I spend too much.
Which video is that?
Pyramids Purulen.
Oh, I got it.
That's just so you can have a sense of scale.
Thank God for drones, huh?
100%.
Okay, so that's a platform. So that is the remains.
That's dude, so right back. If you look back on the horizon, that's the coast. So this is right on the ocean, which means this has been inundated for millennia by tsunamis, and
It looks like it.
It really does, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's completely washed over. Look at how the sand
Yep.
is formed.
And it's so I kept that in there. That's the wind. The wind is so
Right.
I messed up my first drone flying it here. But check this out. I keep this in so you could just. There's another one. Whoa. Oh, it gets better, man.
That seems like a riverbed.
Another that's the
It completely seems like water's washed right over this whole area. I bet if you look at it from far above, it's even more
Oh,
evident,
yeah, I heard
right?
it was.
Yeah. Look at that. Wow.
and they're all the same. They all have the same shape.
And what's the conventional explanation for
There
this
was
place?
one study done on this, and it was a brief survey in 1970. And this
That's
guy,
it?
yeah, that's it. However, the archaeologist who did that survey, there's another one there. The archaeologist who did this survey has been quoted in the past 30 years saying he always wanted to come back here and do more research. He just never did. It's not an easy place to get to. But what they dated it at is, even in that report, that 1970s survey, he's saying 1800 BCE, but likely, look at that.
Wow.
Here's something unique. If you pause it real quick. All right. So I looked on Google Earth, and those toward the top center, you see those two block-looking things? All right. So I was like, I thought they were megalithic. They're not. All of these pyramids are carved out of the bedrock.
Wow.
Are carved out of the bedrock. And the only place that there were looting pits are behind those two stones at the top. In that little alcove of the mountains, that was the only place. So I went there, and there's bones there. So that's where people were buried. And I'm like, why are they burying people here? And I stand right in the middle, and it's facing 89-degree, almost perfect east-west, that little gap. So like that's where they were burying their elite people.
So where the sun would rise in the summer solstice.
Yeah.
Now, how old is this site supposed to be?
So they said in that report, he says 1800. They found one piece of pottery that's documented. They found one, and so
This is from the 1970 study.
Yeah, and so they're saying 1800 BCE. That's right around when pottery started, but in that report he says it's likely older as well. He thinks it's older. It needs more study. But that was it. That was the only thing that was put out there. I mean, there's 16 pyramids here, and if you look in my drone footage, you'll see it looks like there's another thing here, another thing there.
So it's in the neighborhood of 4,000 years old, but possibly older.
Correct. And I think it is. I would stake everything on it being found to be much older. Pre-ceramic, pre-pottery.
The pre-ceramic thing is nuts. All right, so like here's the thing. What are they using for utensils? What are they using for plates? Like what are they using to put their food on? And then if it is pre-ceramic, what kind of tools do they have? And how are they carving?
How are they building this
out of the
pyramids?
bedrock? I mean, imagine the amount of effort it would take for a human being banging a rock against another rock to try to do that and then to make it flat. Are these things level? Have they...
This is the only modern. Most of my footage is the only modern media
What?
in existence of some of these sites.
That's crazy.
Of
It's
that,
just you?
of that site.
Imagine if you didn't exist. Imagine if you weren't exposed to that as a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, that's
This is just going to sit there for like another 1,000 years before somebody else figures it out?
yep.
And
Or it gets paved over.
God.
That's why I'm doing it, man.
God, it's so weird. Yeah. But how weird is that? How weird is it? It's just you. I mean, Raul, what kind of weight on your shoulders is there that this one fascinating site, you're the only guy that's got video of this? Modern video? That's crazy.
Thanks for having me on.
You're getting kind of choked up about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's something in me that I've.
Well, it's obviously very compelling to everyone that really pays attention to it. Is this the...
That's when you look on the satellite.
And again, this is the thing. This is not like they put some rocks in place. They carved these things out of the bedrock, and they're fucking huge. That's what's so crazy about it.
I had to. I mean, getting there was
Like, what are we looking at, man? Like, that's the thing. Like, what are we looking at? And why in Peru? And what happened to this area where they had so much sophisticated, complex construction that was absolutely abandoned, and there's almost nothing left? My question about that mummy is not that it's an alien, but if it does register as human in the DNA, is it potentially a different kind of human than us?
Well, certainly she had. We brought in an expert in South American indigenous people genetics, and the analysis showed that the standard genetic mutations that are found in different racial groups around the world matched exactly the Atacama region of Chile. So her parents, her relatives were clearly Chilean. So yeah, I mean that's really all you can say. If someone wants to say that she's an alien, well, that's fine. I'm convinced of what she is and that she deserves a proper burial.
And so it's just a genetic anomaly.
Just a genetic anomaly.
I do know that you've paid attention to the tridactyl mummies.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
So, I think people have conflated a lot of the different mummies that are out there, first
Right.
of all. There's
Yeah, good point.
60 of them or something. And probably a fair number of them, I wouldn't necessarily call them hoaxes. I would say that they are constructed. But they're old constructs, so maybe there's some sort of homage paid
Right.
to the ancestors or something like that, whatever they are. So there are some ones that you clearly look at, you go, oh, come on.
Right.
That never lived. That's
Then there's the fetal position.
then there's the
ones.
fetal position ones, the big ones.
Yeah.
And I was at the beginning, I'm always open to being wrong. I was at the beginning thinking, oh, well, because of the small ones, those are probably not real. But then the MRIs started coming out,
Yeah.
the full body MRIs and the ligature and the bone construction and the finger, and then perhaps most, I think, extraordinarily, the fingerprints on them being clearly not human. So it's interesting. But here's the problem, is that because there's so much circus around them, unfortunately created by people who want a circus because it sells their TV shows, no scientist of any merit would go near it. So I was approached many times to study them. And I said, I'll do it on one condition. Here's the money I need, not personally, but here's the money I need to do the kinds of analysis to accomplish this right. Second, there will be no TV cameras. And you won't hear from me again until I'm ready to talk, because I'll have double-checked and triple-checked and quadruple-checked the results, and then I'll have gone out, as I did with the Atacama mummy, bringing in further contiguous circles of experts to double-check me.
And not make it a circus.
And not make it a circus. Because I won't name the TV show that wanted to do it, but they wanted to follow me around with a camera. And I'm like, no, this isn't how science is done.
Right.
I can't do it with those strictures. So I would say that if anybody's going to do it again, lock the things away with South American scientists. You don't need a North American scientist to come in and do it. There's plenty of smart people in South America who can do this properly. And respect the rights of the indigenous peoples who own the sacred grounds within which these things were found. I think that's important. And then do the analysis right. They made, I think, the mistake of saying, well, we've done the DNA and there's a lot of DNA that doesn't match. Anything, and the stuff is several hundred years old, anything that old, you won't get a lot of good DNA out of it. But they did the same thing with the Denisovan and the Neanderthal. You have to correct the chemical errors that occur over time. There are ways to what's called bioinformatically correct. You need to do what's called over-reading of the genome, where you do so many reads of it that you stack them all up line by line. Like if you had 1,000 versions of an ancient Bible, you would stack up the lines one by one, and finally you find one line that has this letter, that's correct, and then this one correct, and then you basically do a summation of an averaging of the correctness. And so they say, oh, well, there's 90% of the genome is non-human. It's probably garbage. It's probably these mistakes. It's probably bacterial contamination that you're reading. There's ways to deal with that, but that requires money and not one-off DNA sequences put on the interwebs for some amateur genomicist to make a claim about.
Right.
So there's ways to do it. I mean, you would want, at the end of the day, to get the results to the level where you could go to the guys who did the Denisovan and the Neanderthal DNA, the Max Planck and others who won the Nobel Prize for it, and say, hey, what do you think? But you don't dare take it to people like that until you've done your homework.
I see. Yeah.
Right. And you do it
Otherwise-
behind the scenes. You don't put them under a flashlight.
Right.
And people, I think, have gotten used to this click mentality of impatience where I want the result today. Why can't you just make it all transparent? Dump all the data on the web tomorrow. You're not transparent. You're hiding something. No, I'm not. I am just trying to make sure that you don't make the mistake and accuse me of making the mistake that you'll find in the data, because the raw data is never clean.
In the Daily Mail headline.
In the Daily Mail
it's
headline.
never accurate.
So, long story short, I think there's still something worth looking at there.
Well, the scans are fascinating, right?
Yeah, the scans are the most interesting to me.
Have you seen the Jesse Michaels, the newest video?
Yeah, Jesse's a good friend.
He's great. I love that guy. And the episode that he did is fantastic. And when you see the scans and they go over the bone structure of the thing and you look at it, you're like, God, that looks real.
Yeah.
If that's a hoax from 1,700 years ago or
Exactly.
however it is, whoever, if the carbon isotope dating that they did on it is accurate.
I've looked at that data. It looks good.
Okay. So then it is that old. Fuck you then.
Yeah.
Because there's no way someone back then could fake that.
And somebody asked me the other day, they said, well, could you have a single mutation or a set of, I said, no. I mean, because you don't get one mutation that does all that.
Right.
You know, evolution works step by step, that this does this, but it has a mistake, but it's corrected by this mutation over here in evolution, which is corrected by this. And so the genome fluctuates over time, compensating for the errors that would otherwise have killed you.
Also, one of them is pregnant.
That's fast. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so it's a 3-foot pregnant thing that doesn't look remotely human being.
Yeah. So the jury is still out,
Right.
but if they're going to do it right, they need to sequester the stuff away, bring in the right people with sufficient resources, and get rid of the cameras.
Have you talked to them? Have you encouraged this? Is it possible to nudge this in the right direction? And where's it at right now?
I wrote out on Twitter a full thing of what they needed to do. I mean, the easiest first milestone to do, to be honest, that could be done within a couple of months, is if it is somewhere in the hominid or, let's say, vertebrate line, there are metabolism genes that we all share. In fact, there are metabolism genes that we share with bacteria that are very similar. So do you know the technique called polymerase chain reaction, PCR?
Yes.
So, why try to do the whole genome? Why not just target a bunch of genes that we know evolve slowly, but do evolve, and PCR those out? Because that's easier to do than is trying to assemble a whole genome. And then by having just those, let's call it preliminary sets of evidence, you could then say, this actually reproducibly, if I take a sample from the finger, I take a sample from the bone marrow, I take a sample from here or there on the body, and I take a sample from the 3 different main things, and I see the same mutations, and they're different or somehow aligned with hominid evolution, right? We compare it to all the known hominids. I mean, that would be the kind of data that you could actually publish in a journal like Nature if you did it right. Because that's the only way that you're going to get anybody to pay attention.
There's also the bizarre anecdotal nature of some of the artwork. Like, the fact that these people did a lot of these tapestries and a lot of ancient artwork that's 1,000 years old that depicts these three-fingered things. So it's like, what are they describing? Are they describing these actual creatures? That there were only a few of them, and it was a weird genetic mutation, or is this a common visitor that they're describing?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean,
but
why would you put them in a cave in Peru? I don't know.
And
I
if
mean,
you didn't put them in a cave in Peru, what would be left? That's the problem. The problem is it's really hard to make a fossil. It's really hard to find bones. You know, think about all the people that died.
Right.
And we don't find that many bones,
Right.
relatively speaking, in comparison to the fucking billions of
Right.
people that died.
Right.
It's not like we're tripping over human bones every day.
Right. Except in mass graves.
Yeah. Right. That's really And even in mass graves, given enough time, they will deteriorate. Like mass graves from 1,000, 1,700 years ago, or whatever these things are.
So, I find them interesting, and I hope that behind the scenes there are people who are taking a more methodical approach to this, who I think should remain stealthed until they have the data to the point where it is
They can
publishable.
publish. Yeah.
Publishing a white paper or putting something out on the internet is not the same as putting out data that has all of the instruments that you used, the methods that you used, et cetera. The reason you want papers, frankly, when you publish them, to be almost boring and so thick with detail that no pseudo-skeptic would dare approach it because they're just not smart enough. But if you put out these snippets that don't have sufficient background, they can be picked apart by anybody. Right? But that's why peer review is so important. And people mistake peer review as trying to get the reviewers to agree with your conclusions. No, the main purpose of peer review is actually to make sure that the methods that you used are sufficiently detailed and are correct enough to the extent you came to any conclusions, they match the methods that you used.
And when you think about these potential, whatever they are, whatever these creatures are, if we did find out that they are some sort of a hominid, how much credence do you give to the theory that there's like the possibility that these UFOs, UAPs, whatever it is a break-off civilization from a very, very long time ago that's very different from us, just same way we're very different from chimpanzees,
Right.
which we coexist with?
Right. I have no problem conjecturing that. Did you ever see the Netflix show Chimp Empire?
Yes.
Amazing, right?
Amazing.
20 million years of separation, and it looked like fucking faculty meeting. With people like looking at each other and planning and plotting, board meeting, and so we shared all of those interactions from 20 million years ago. So how much further back would you have to go to have something like what that is? I mean, it's clearly not recent.
And also, if you think about what we are in comparison to chimps, we're so fragile, we're frail, we're easily injured, well, if you think of something that's far more technologically advanced than us, it would be even more frail. It would be even more petite. It would have almost no muscle at all. It would look, weirdly enough, like the Greys from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Like, that's what it would look like. If it was a hominid that's whatever we are, and it went way past that.
Right. Yeah, no, technology gives evolution the excuse to no longer make or allow for you to be
robust.
Robust. Thank you. That was the word
and also,
I'm looking for.
why do you need opposable thumbs?
Yeah.
Right? These things don't even have opposable thumbs.
That was what's weird about it.
Right.
It's like, how do you interact with your environment? They look more like sloths than they do.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, at least their hands do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I find it.
Well, if everything's done with AI and automation and your interface is purely neurological, like so you have some sort of a human or a creature neuro interface with technology, and you just use fingers to like lay them on electronics so that you can sync up with it.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Well,
not?
why are you picking things up, bro? You don't have to pick things up anymore. Those go away just like, because there's a lot of people now that are saying that those are elaborate hoaxes.
I went down to Peru. I was invited to go down there by Dr. Roger Zuniga, or Professor Roger Zuniga, to go down and look at the specimens that they have at the Ica Museum. They have 4 specimens at the Ica Museum. The most impressive specimen that they have there is called Maria. And Maria's in the fetal position. She's one of the larger mummies. Then they have a few other ones. They have 2 of the small ones, the ones that Jaime Maussan famously revealed over there in Mexico during that thing that he did over there, that press thing. And then you have one that's called Wawita, which seems to be like some kind of a combination of different things. And so I went down there to the university and walked up to these things. And at first, I have to say, my first impression of Maria, I didn't really care about the little ones. I never believed that the little ones were
Right.
ever...
The little ones look squirrely.
Yeah, I never believed that they were living organic beings. They're very rigid.
Yeah,
they're
they
very
look
rigid.
fake.
I don't think that like their morphology really could have worked in the real world.
But like Montserrat, like that one.
Montserrat and Maria and there's a bunch of them. Those are very compelling when you're standing next to them, looking at them. They were compelling. So I looked at the mummies and then I interviewed Roger Zuniga, and he's very, very convinced that they're 100% real, sincerely. I mean, I like Professor Zuniga, and he really is convinced. I don't think he's not trying to perpetrate some kind of a hoax. Neither is anybody at the University of Ica. There's a good faith effort going on there to try and investigate this and continually do testing. And it's an open field.
Have they done genetic testing?
Yeah,
on
they've
this?
done all kind of testing.
So what do they find?
Here's the problem. There's been a lot of testing done, but I don't think the interpretation of the data has been competent. And so initially, I was pretty impressed. I thought it was more likely than not. I even said this on the Michael Knowles show, that it was more likely than not, in my mind, that the larger mummies like Maria were real. But I've since reversed that position. I think it's more likely than not that all of them are a hoax. That's my personal opinion. And this is a hot topic, like on X and stuff. There's a lot of people who are absolutely, sincerely convinced that these things are real. The problem is that this entire thing started with a grave robber, a very shady individual, and the very first mummies that were brought forward were hoaxes, were fake. That's how it started. And this is it's a whole saga we don't have to get into, but it started with fakes. It started with a hoax, and then then allegedly they started to produce the real ones. And I just have a hard time believing that this is an elaborate hoax. Now, I've talked to some of the individuals who've done some of the scientific work on these. They don't want me to mention their names or anything. They're trying to just sort of stay neutral. They don't want the press. And they also doubt that they're real. They think they're really, really elaborate hoaxes. And I know that a lot of money has exchanged hands in regard to these things. Maria was up for sale for $1 million at one point. And if you're a proven grave robber, $1 million is like $1 billion. I mean, so that's, to me, that's...
Can we see what the Maria one looks like?
That's not... That casts a lot of shade on the whole thing for me.
Of course.
Now, I can't say scientifically the DNA data, this, that, the other, but there's a lot of debate going back and forth on this thing.
Well, I think one of the problems is anatomists, experts in anatomy, have looked at the structure of the feet
Yes.
and the hands, and it doesn't seem to jive with what they understand about the structure of feet.
That's true.
That the bones are not in the proper position, they're not the proper size. It doesn't look like it makes sense. But damn,
Maria.
that's amazing.
That's Maria.
Like, here's the thing. If it is a hoax, like, what an amazing job they did.
Yeah, maybe the greatest hoax ever perpetrated in the
Right.
history of archaeology.
Like, who did it? And, like, what talent this person has.
There's a new note, because this website was the tridactyls.org. It got updated. There's a little note that popped up. It says they have ongoing research that just got updated.
This is a great
new note.
website.
What is the ongoing research?
There's more
it might be
videos
male.
on here than I've
Maria
ever
might
seen
be
before.
Mario.
Yeah, Mario. They call him Mario now.
It's a dude.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
more scans
Maybe he's
and videos
non-binary.
and a bunch more data down here. I don't know what all this stuff is.
Interesting.
A bunch more data. That
That's a
people
great
download.
resource there.
So it's tridactyls.org.
Tridactyls.org.
Go to the images of it again. Go down, like right there. So this, okay, this is a 3D scan.
Yeah, these are all scans. These are videos of the scans.
Fucking weird, man. Look at the length also of the fingers and the toes. But you think that's a hoax?
Yeah, people said it wouldn't work. That
You know, I
What'd you say, Jamie?
people said that you can't grab stuff. There's pictures down here. They have of people trying to, where was it? Trying to like grab stuff with. I might have been looking at a different. Yeah, I was looking at this. These are the fingers that you couldn't bend. They wouldn't bend or something like that. It's hard to like this person trying to grab stuff with long fingers without bendable, appendages. I guess. would be the
Well,
word.
we're assuming that they had to grab things.
Well, what would you have fingers for?
Well, maybe they put them on a spaceship. That's how they pilot it. Maybe they've gone past the idea of picking things up. Maybe they lift things with their mind. Maybe that's how they move the blocks into place. I don't know.
I'm more convinced than not that they're a hoax. I can't say definitively.
Yeah, I would lean in that direction because I want them to be real. And the
Yeah.
problem, but also
That would be
whoever did
amazing.
hoax them, like Monstrad, whoever hoaxed that, like what an amazing job you guys did. And also, there's some of them that have weird implants in their heads.
They have metal implants.
Yeah.
In the hand. A couple of them have them in the hand. Others have them in the forehead.
Very weird stuff.
Some of them have fetuses, apparently. Although there's some dispute about that. They say the fetuses look like that they look the same as the adults, which would be remarkable if true. But that's disputed. Everything's disputed.
Right.
There's a factional battle here between the believers and the naysayers.
Right.
And they're both looking at the same data, interpreting it differently. So that's why I just sort of stand back and say, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you how it started. It started with grave robbers, very seedy people.
Mm-hmm.
And it started, the initial ones were not real. I know that because I know the individuals who were involved in that whole thing. So
Just that alone. Yeah.
just that alone. I mean,
But then how did they make the skin? How did they cover it? How did they make it look
I
like
don't know.
that?
They're really good.
Yeah,
I mean,
who
if you were
taught
selling
them?
these things for hundreds of thousands, if you were making $100,000 on just $100,000 on one of these mummies, and you're a poor grave robber, you would do anything, take whatever it took to produce one of these to sell it to make $100,000.
But
which
haven't
is-
they aged them, and they're really old?
They harvest the pieces from the graves,
Okay.
from the Nazca and
So
Paracas
they
graves.
construct this somehow from really old skeletons, pieced it together.
That's the allegation, and also from old llamas and stuff like that.
Yeah. One of the other weird things about these elongated heads is that they have where it connects to the spine is in a different position than a human skull.
Yes, there is some indication of that. That's why I was pointing out on that, the one that with the skin on it. There is a very interesting morphology with the neck where it connects into the spinal cord. Now, I'm not an expert on anatomy. I don't know. All I can look at it and say is that's freaking weird. I mean,
Really
it is weird. And I mean, I always just remind people, you can argue about all the data all day long, but if one of those people walked into this room right now,
Right.
it wouldn't just be a little weird.
Right.
It would be utterly bizarre.
Yeah.
And
An actual real human mummy or whatever it is, mummy, if that was alive today, it would freak you out.
larger orbital sockets, very
Yeah.
small, extremely elongated head. Yeah, it would freak you out.
It just makes you wonder, what was the world like back then? What were these people like? Was there a separate branch of the human species?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure now I'm recalling the date 2000 and 2500 BC, somewhere around there is where the Prakis culture goes back to. And then I think it existed until 700 AD. I'm not sure that those numbers are accurate, but that's what I remember. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in Peru.
Well, a lot of weird stuff in just ancient history in particular. What do you make of like things like Zep-Tepi and the Sumerian kings list, where you go back in time and you have these incredible ages of some of these rulers that ruled for thousands of years.
Well, what's really interesting is that if you overlay the Sumerian kings list with the list of patriarchs, pre-flood patriarchs in Genesis 5, it's like a 1-to-1 match.